What's up, guys? Welcome to another video. In this video, we are going to be checking out how to control our Home Assistant, which through that controls the GPIO on our Raspberry Pi with the Google Assistant. So this is going to be a second video in that series. If that sounds something that you'd like to see, check it out right here, right now on misperry. Okay guys, welcome to the in-depth video on how to set up your Google Assistant to work with your Home Assistant in the way that you can control GPIO and be able to turn things on and off with the soothing sounds of your voice. Alright, so to get started, I've got if this then that put up here, as well as I've got our Home Assistant ready to go. So basically what this is going to do is you're going to bounce off of if this then that, the different commands that you're going to use from Google Home, and send it over to the Home Assistant for processing. Now, as I'd said in the short video, if you haven't checked that out, please go check that out. It's pretty cool. It's a lot faster than this video. But basically what you are doing, you do not have to use a Google Home if you do not, a Google Pi, if you don't want to. If you've got a Google Home laying around, this will work with it. Also, I don't know if many people know this, but Home Assistant isn't strictly for the Raspberry Pi. You can install it on any version, like Ubuntu or something like that. You can install it on, it just has to be Linux. Okay, I'm gonna get a quick drink real quick. Oh, that's better. Anyway, so you can install this on anything really and make it run. Now, doing the GPIO stuff, obviously you need to have GPIO, but if let's say you have a whole bunch of Belkin smart plugs all over your house and you're using Home Assistant to control them all or something like that, you know, through wireless means or whatever, you can still attach this voice command set to it, okay, which is actually pretty darn cool if you ask me. So you don't have to completely DIY it like I'm doing here on this channel. You could use the store bot things, but still add the voice command set to it all, okay? And this is gonna be real simple how you do this. It's real simple. So first things first, what we need to do is let's create an if this then that account. So first thing you do is you'll create an account here, right? Now you need to enable a couple applets. So we're gonna go to search and you're gonna look for make, okay? And when you get make, you want to install under the services, okay, Maker webhooks. Now, this was called something else previously. It was like Maker something, I don't remember. But anyway, it's called Maker webhooks at this point in time, at this juncture. So you're going to click on that, and it'll take you to this. And then basically you'll have an install button down here. Now, since I've already installed mine, it just says more or whatever. But you will just install that, okay? Once you install that, it'll bring you to this screen. Now, if you watch the short video, you'll see this, but I'll have blurred this out. But you need to take note of this key that's on the end. It's the part that I blurred out. It's right after this word use. Take note of that. Copy it, put it into a notepad or something like that, because we're just going to cut and paste it, okay? That's all we're going to do. So once you get that going, okay, what we're going to do then is we will go back to my app list just to get that ready, because we'll create these applets here in a minute, and I'll walk you through how to do that, okay? In fact, I'm going to go ahead and create a new tab and put that over here, so I'll have it as a roadmap just in case I forget something, because it has happened. I've forgotten things before. So anyway, all right, now we're going to pull up our Home Assistant Raspberry Pi. And we're going to cd to the home assistant directory, which is where our configuration file is. So you're going to do a sudo vim configuration.yaml. All right, so there's the YAML file. Okay, and then I'm going to scroll down. Oh, there it is. To the if this then that, okay, section. So the if this then that, this is all you got to add. You just add IFTTT colon and then key colon and then that key that you cut and paste earlier. I told you to cut and paste earlier. That's all you can do. Add that to it. And once you're done adding that to it, we'll go ahead and verify it. So we're going to do a sudo switch user -s bin bash. Now, I put mine in a virtual environment just to separate the Home Assistant stuff from the normal Pi stuff. You don't have to do that, but I chose to do it because I followed the instructions. I know, it's the last thing master builders do, is follow the instructions. Sorry, I've been watching Lego Movie way too much. Anyway, so we go to that Home Assistant. So we're going to switch to my virtual environment. And then from here, we're going to check our config. So you do hos -- script config, or test config. Bam. And so while that's doing that, you're going to wait and see, and it should show you that it will activate the if this then that module that's a part of Home Assistant. So we'll go ahead and let that roll. Mine takes it a little bit. Invalid script. Oh, I'm sorry. It's check config. My bad. Check config. Not test config. Check config. All right. So, in any case, this should hopefully get there. And once it does, we'll go ahead and that's all the setup. That's all the setup for Home Assistant that you need to do. It's really simple. That basically hooks it to if this then that. Now, once you've hooked it up this way, you can do a lot with Home Assistant and if this then that. I encourage you to go explore because it's very powerful. You can do all kinds of stuff. All right, so there it is, setting up if this then that. If there were going to be any errors, it would be after this log entry, and there are no errors, so we are good to go. So now all you gotta do is restart your Home Assistant. I'm not going to because I don't need to, but basically what you do, I'm gonna back out of our virtual environment. You just need to do the sudo systemctl stop Home Assistant at Pi if that's the username that you set it up with. And then once you're done with that, you do the start Home Assistant Pi. All right. And then if you're like me and you like to, make sure that it's actually starting properly, you can do a sudo journalctl-f-u and then the username that you started it under. Mine was Home Assistant at Pi. And that's all you got to do. And it'll show you the scrolling log of it all starting, and you can see if you can catch any errors or anything weird going on. That's all you got to do. So once that's restarted, it should have if this then that activated on it, and everything should be golden. And if you use that key, that'll link it to your if this then that account and all that jazz. So now what we're going to do is we are going to create a new applet. Now, if you have just created an account here, you will have nothing in here and it'll just have this new applet. So click new applet. So hopefully mine will load. Okay, so now it's going to add, it's basically asking you, okay, what is the trigger that we need to use? So it's saying if this happens, if some triggering happens, well, what is that going to be? So you literally click it. You click this little blue thing. Now, what's going to trigger this is going to be our Google Assistant. So you type Google, and there it is, Google Assistant. So we click on Google Assistant. It says, what kind of a trigger do you want? Say a phrase with a number in it. Say a phrase with text ingredient. Basically choose what you need. I just put a simple phrase. That was all I chose. So simple phrase. Now in here, what do you want to say? For me, I'm going to say turn off test LED 1. That's what I mean, you could say like turn off dining room or turn off, bedroom lamp or bedroom 1 or Bob's bedroom or whatever you want to do, whatever you want Google to recognize. So what's another way to say it? See, it's that learning thing. Google needs to know if there's different ways you could say it. So I will say deactivate test LED 1. And then a third and final way of doing it, you could say terminate, or you could say, whatever you want to say. I'm going to say disable test LED 1. Okay. And then what do you want the response to be? Basically, what does Alexa want to say? You could have just okay, where she just says okay afterwards. Or like me, I did a little more complicated. I said sure, here. I said, sure, deactivating test LED 1. Okay, that's it. That's all you gotta do. Then we hit create trigger. And then there we go. There's our if Google Assistant trigger, one of those trigger words. My trigger word. Anyway, then this happens. So now what we want this to do is we want to actually contact and send a post message back to Home Assistant. So we're going to use our maker webhooks. Okay, so that's the reason you needed that service. Oh, and by the way, if you click the Google Assistant one, I think actually you have to install the Google Assistant service. If you have to do that, it walks you through it. I forgot about it. I think mine is already installed. But basically, you'll have to install that, and it'll walk you through it. It says, hey, you have to install the Google Assistant thing to your if this then that account. I don't mean to your Pi or to any server. You just have to add it to your if this then that account. Okay, so maker webhooks. We're gonna do a web request. Now here's where it starts to get a little bit sticky. Is you're gonna need, okay, so on this we're gonna put in our URL. Okay, so I gave basically a generic URL for you to look at. What this is using is using the REstful API. I brought this tab up here as well. What this is the API that you can make, or that is in Home Assistant, and you can make calls to it. Okay, and you can do that using basically web application JSON requests, post requests or whatever. So what you do is you go down through here, and there's a lot of get commands. We don't want to get information from the Home Assistant. We want to actually write information to it. So you get down here to the post commands, and we're looking for the service one. Okay, services. So this is what we're wanting to do, because we're wanting to post information to the actual service for starting up GPIO and things like that. So they give some examples of how to do this with the curl function, and you can type this in into a Linux terminal, and it basically sends the command to your Home Assistant Pi that you got going on, things like that. Anyway, so what you basically do is you're going to have, you know, your DYN DNS or some sort of dynamic DNS name where you can use that with duck DNS or whatever, and you need to also forward your 8123 port as well. And things like that, you know. So you can check out some of my other videos on how to do that. If you're doing HTTPS and have certificates and stuff like that, you can do that as well. I've got videos on that too. Go check them out. But anyway, you're basically going to call the API, call services, and then I'm going to call my switch service, which again, previously in my other videos in the configuration YAML file that I have, I did do this. Let's see if I can open it back up. Oh, good grief. If I could type would help. So if I can open this back up and get down to it. Let me see where it's at. Let me drag this over for you guys to look at it. Okay, down here I have that switch service definition down here, and I call out the Raspberry Pi GPIO, and then I call out the two pins that I'm using to operate the LEDs or relays or whatever external device through GPIO. I call that out. That's the switch function or the switch service. So I'm going to say services, and I'm going to say switch because I want to call that switch service. And then it's like, what do you want to do? And so it's just like when we had called up here the entities, and we called it on or off, you know, basically when we were doing that scripting stuff. You know, that's basically what we're going to call here. So we're going to say turn off because it's a switch. So turn off is the keyword. Then question mark, you're going to say API password, and it's going to be your password for your Raspberry, for your Home Assistant password. So whatever one you put in this configuration file, I have one up above, but whatever that password is, you put that in. This point right here, and that's all you got to do, and that's the actual call. Then the method you want to use, we want to use the post method. Okay, like I said, we don't want to get information, we want to send the information. So post, and that corresponds with this. We want to use the post, okay, message. Then the content type, this is going to be an application JSON. Okay, so it's going to be that type of a file. And then body. Now here's where we need to call the entity, just like we called it. Let's see, let me pull that back up. Just like up here when we were calling entities in this whole scripting thing, and when we did scenes and we called it and we said on or off or whatever, you're gonna have to do that down here as well, but in that JSON format. And this really helped me with how to do it. right there. That's the perfect example. So what we're going to do is we're going to use that and put that in here, except we're going to change out the wording with the switch.testLED1. So that way it knows the service and then the test LED one, which one it is, which is that one pin. Okay, right? There it is, test LED1. So that way it knows which GPIO pin to mess around with. And that's it. It's actually that simple. You hit create action, on it goes, blam, and there we go. So isn't that awesome? And then you'd hit finish here, which I'm not going to hit finish. You can have receive notifications that'll actually email you when this gets triggered. I chose not to. It's fine. But you hit finish, and then that builds your applet, and then you will have an applet, and that'll be on. You can turn them on and off, whatever you want to do. Tells you last time it run and stuff like that. If you have trouble, okay, if you're having trouble and it's not working right, you can go to this activity tab, and it will tell you when the applet ran and if it was successful. In fact, I bet you if I hit more enough, I'll probably find when it wasn't successful. There we go. See, I have like action skipped, applet failed. So basically what these mean, if you get these two, okay, I got applet failed for a while. Well, I found out that I had the wrong key. Like my key was just messed up. I wasn't using it right for some reason or something. And so I got this applet failed. That means the trigger didn't even work. Like it got the Home Assistant thing, but when it got there, it just didn't work at all. And it was because I had the wrong key. I was trying to contact if this then that, and it was just, it wasn't working. Once I got the key thing resolved, I got this action skipped. What was that? Well, what that meant was it was getting triggered. It was coming from the Google Home that I had registered, and it was getting, the key was correct, but it was getting to the applet, and the applet was failing. Basically, it was not working right. And it doesn't really get, one thing, I wish it would tell you where it was failing, because it was kind of hard for me to figure it out. And turned out it was a typo. What it was basically I had in that API password section, I had API and password not separated with an underscore, like it should be. So that's what happened. Moment. Water is good. So yeah, that was what was causing those applets to not run. The action gets skipped. Once I did that, that's this applet updated. I changed that. Then it ran like a charm, and it works every time. And in fact, I should have it all fired up here. So let me grab a VNC window, and we will fire this up. So first thing we need to do is we need to source the env bin activate. So I get into my environment. And again, if you haven't seen how to set up your Google Pi on your Raspberry Pi, then check out my video. It's the one before this one. And then those of you that have a Google Home, you can just start using it right now. Now, for those of us that have the Google Pis, or as I've liked to start calling them, or basically, you've installed Google Assistant on a Raspberry Pi, you have to start it if it isn't started already. So this is how to do that. So I'm going to Google Assistant demo. Go, baby, go. All right. Check to see if she works. Okay, Google, tell me the time.
Sorry, I don't know how to help with that.
What? Okay, Google, what time is it?
The time is 5:13 p.m.
Ah, now. All right, so now that she seems to be working, we're going to go back to our Home Assistant here. And we're going to go to the Test LED one. And now, if we watch Test LED one, we should see it turn on and off with my voice. So here we go. Hey, Google, turn on Test LED one.
Sure, activating Test LED 1.
Oh, wait, hold on. I may have to refresh. Oh, no, it did it. It did it. Yeah, it did it. Yeah. Oh, I got people running around behind me. Whee! All right, so now we're going to go, let's turn it off, see how she does on that one. So, hey, Google, turn off Test LED 1. See what happens.
Sure, deactivating Test LED 1.
And off it goes. For some reason, it's kind of lagging. It was usually faster than that. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe network latency. Anyway, guys, that is basically in a nutshell how to do that. I will post some links and stuff down in the description. If you like that, please let me know with a comment below. I enjoy reading all of you guys' comments. If you guys have questions or problems doing things or whatever, please leave it down in the comment section below. I will help you as best I can. And if I can't, I guarantee one of you that's out there will be able to help whoever it is that has questions. So I will talk to you guys later. Looks like my just running up the stairs here. I'm doing this during the day, as you can see. Anyway, guys, make sure and like, subscribe, and share. Make sure and subscribe. I got a lot more videos on this. In fact, I've got yet another assistant to install on our Raspberry Pi. So I'm not going to tell you who it is. I'm sure many of you, the minute I just said that, know it, probably like, oh, he's installing that one. So there will be more assistant videos, and we will do a compilation of these at some point and pick the best one, or at least kind of like a review on assistants and see which one is the best one. This one was pretty easy to set up. Not going to lie. Alexa was a little bit harder, but you might be able to use if this then that with Alexa. I'm not sure. If you would like to see that, if you would like to see me venture forth and try to use if this then that with Alexa, let me know, because there might be I think it might be a real easy way to do that too. I'll have to see. Let me know in the comments. That is the way you can get your voice heard, is if you let me know in the comments. All right, guys, as always, take care and make sure keep building, keep making, because that's what it's all about. Like, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Follow me on Twitter, Instructables, all those different places. Check out the socials on the channel page. And guys, I will see you next time.